Are we ready to get started, Chris, maybe?
Yeah, let's get started.
All right. So we've come to the last section of the workshop, which is the AppStudio App Framework. Uh, just to set an expectation again that we cover architecture of AppStudio. If you notice the way we are running this workshop, we kind of go through trying to go through every element of this. We CloudMake, AppStudio Player, AppStudio Desktop, the templates, the app configuration, UI, UX, and then Qt, QML, and then Brooke just cover ArcGIS runtime for Qt, and then on the last one we wanted to cover the AppStudio App Framework on this section. So again, it's probably been repeated, but I'll cover this again. AppStudio Framework is a library that built by AppStudio. So we use a library from Qt, the QML. We use the library from ArcGIS Runtime. We are in the same company, just different team, but we work together to make this a cohesive platform. So, but we feel that ArcGIS Runtime has its own functionality related to GIS, maps, and AppStudio is uh, trying to fill the gap, what's missing to create a native app. Most of them are derived by customer requests and also apps that's using AppStudio, Survey123, Quick Capture, and all of the apps out there. If you have requests, send it to us, and then we can try to see we can add it into our library. That's pretty much cover what is this AppStudio framework. So again, there are a lot of things that we have. We have authentication, we have the app framework itself, we have barcode reading, we have positioning, we have speech that I'm going to cover today. We have sensor that include Bluetooth connection. We have web view, we have SQL to help with the SQLite query and query back and forth to your own database, local database in the phone. So I wanted to cover the framework. The frame if you notice that when you import AppStudio framework on the very top, instead of using rectangle and you say app as the root level of your app, that indicates that you are using an AppStudio framework. So if you say app instead of rectangle, that means the whole app is powered by the AppStudio framework. That means what it means is that you can refer to all of these properties and method that we have. You can get the OS name, OS version of where this app is running on. And one example is the display scale factor. I know there's someone's asking in our GeoNet question, what is the display scale factor? It's basically a way for us to unify the pixel count on a different platform, because some platform like iOS has a different way of counting pixel. On Android, if it's high DPI or normal, it has different way of counting pixel. Also in Windows or Mac OS. So if you use AppStudio framework, we have already do a calculation. So you could just, let's say, specify how big is your the width or the height of an item by a scale factor. You could say 400 times display scale factor. So that means it would say the size will stay the same and adjusted based on where it is running on iOS, Android, or desktop. And it also has access to all of these methods. For example, I have an example of this. It's working with file, for example. So, and also you would be able to access the app info JSON. Remember, we have a setting page that lets you configure the template all of this information are stored in the appinfo.json file. And if you need to access that data, that property with AppStudio Framework, you can access those properties. So if any changes in a property, you can use it in your code. So one example of this is you have access to manage the file. I mean, this may sound simple, but think about this on managing file permission in different platform. This file info that we create in AppStudio works with all the platform that we support. It works on iOS, it works on Android, it works on Windows, it works on Mac. So you don't have to worry about managing different type of code for different platform. We unify that, and you just use the AppStudio Framework component that we provide. Another example is to get an EXIF info from an image. If in case if you don't know, let's say if you take a picture using your mobile phone, it has a metadata that comes with that image. You can grab that information, for example, the location of where that photo is taken, and then several other information that it might be useful for your app. So this kind of a functionality is available in AppStudio Framework. We also have a clipboard share. This is also a unified way in all the cross-platform. Remember, in iOS, you can share a URL or a text to text message, email, or different app. So this opens up a native operating system share capability in Android or also iOS. We mentioned that we use JavaScript. It supports the XML HTTP requests, but we found that the XML HTTP request is very general, and in order for you to make requests to most of the S3 services, for example, in a feature layer or ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, it requires some setting. For example, in the header, it requires a few specific setting. So we create a network request object so that if you're trying to connect with S3 services, you can just use network requests, and you don't have to worry about all of the setting. And the network request is ready. It's already pre-configured so that your request would be successful to all of the S3 services. It supports the same way with XML as request. This is one of the example of the way most of the AppStudio framework, we do it in the C++. We create a C++ code, we wrap it around, and we give the XML out to you. Some of them we have to create an iOS code, Android specific Java code, and then we wrap it around for XML. For this one, we have JavaScript behind the scene. We wrap an XML HTTP request with specific configuration that works with S3 services, and we expose it in a QML. You can also get the system information. So for example, we know that if this app is running on a phone, on an Apple device, on iPhone 8. So if you ask why do we care about the information, for example, when iPhone 10 first came out, it came with a little notch. We need that information. We need to know if it's running on an iPhone that has a notch, so that then our UI would be a little bit different. We have to adjust the top of the UI so that no item or no text are hidden from that notch. There are many here. I'm going to go over just a few of them quickly, and then there is a hands-on exercise with it. So another one that we wanted to talk about is that it has a biometric authentication. So it supports Face ID and Touch ID on iOS, and then all of the biometric authentication that are available in Android. For example, they have a fingerprint, also Face ID, or whatever biometric authentication that is available on that phone or device, including even Touch ID on macOS or maybe a Face ID on Windows, we take care of that. So you just need to use the biometric authentication that we expose, and it will work across platform. And secure storage, for example, we support storing. This is especially to store login information. So if you want to store important information, you can store it in the secure storage. Refresh token, that's one of the things that you also want to keep in the secure storage. We also have a SQL. So for most of our app, we have our own local database, which is a SQLite. So we thought that we need to create a SQL library to help you run a unified SQL statement. So you can run SQL statement against it, and it works with SQLite, MySQL, Postgres, and ODBC. But I see majority of usage for this is the local SQLite file that you have stored locally in your device. Web view. I think even from day one, you have already seen that in AppStudio Player, you can open a web browser. So we have our own web view. It's called browser view, and it used the native browser. So for example, on iOS, it would use the Safari browser, and on Android, it would use the Google Chrome. So I just wanted to show you how to use one of the AppStudio framework in a code to see the difference. So what we're going to use, what we're going to do is to use the speech module, which is add text-to-speech functionality from AppStudio Framework. This is based on the QML demo 3 from day 3. What we're going to do, we are going to use this already pre-created app that you did on Tuesday, and then as you click on one of this box, one of this mouse area, it would say what app it is by using the model. So I'm going to open that real quick. Open. So I'm going to open the day 3. And also, by the way, this exercise is already available in the source code. The end result of this and the instructions step by step to do this is available on the folder. So I've created a step-by-step instruction on how to do this. If you want to do it along, you can, or if you want to do it later, it's up to you. So I've already, so this is what we have. This is what we, so I'm going to actually remove this. And I'm going to remove this too. All right, so this is what we have from day 3 exercise. So we have this, we can open the drawer, open X3 app, and then this is coming from a list model. So what we want to do is on the click event, on the mouse click event on this box, we want to have a text-to-speech. So the first thing you want to do here is you want to import AppStudio Framework. So out of all of those little dot that I have, that's represent the module that we have. So we want to use a speech functionality. So first we want to import that. So import ArcGIS.AppFramework, and then we want to find speech. So now you're importing a speech module from the AppStudio Framework, and you save. And then this is the list model that we have. I'm going to minimize this because we don't need it. So I'm going to minimize this too. Minimize this too. The one that we want to work on is on the app page, because that is where the app page is. So I wanted to show. This is the one that we wanted to work on. app page right here. And then yesterday, people are already asking about mouse click, so we're going to use that. So now we have a label here inside the delegate. So we have a label inside the delegate. So we want to add a text-to-speech functionality here. And then we're going to give it an ID. So that's all it takes. Once you initialize this, it could be initialized everywhere as long as we have access to it. Once it is initialized, that means you have this functionality on your app already. So you can now call and run that. And if you want to, so now we're going to add mouse area that is going to cover the whole image. We could say parent. And then on click of an event, we are going to add a functionality to add to so that it will say the app name. But how do we know what method it is, right? So we can open the documentation of this by clicking F1 or function F1 on function F1 from Mac. We can say this is text-to-speech QML type from AppStudio Framework. We have already included the import statement for this, and what we want is to use the say method here. So there's a say method that receive a text. So that's what we are going to do. So we are going to add here tts text-to-speech dot say. So that this is because this is in Elegate, so we want to say the app name. So we're gonna use one of the attributes of the model. It's called app name. I've saved this, and I'm going to run this. And then now I should say I can hear it. Let me know if you can run this, and then it says the name of the app for you. And yes, I think it should support any language. There is a local properties that is available. Nice. I see a few people have it working. And the end result for this is available on the folder day 4, and also there is a step-by-step instruction on how to do this by adding the import statement and then adding the text-to-speech and mouse area. I hope that I have convey how easy. I mean, this is probably the simplest one, but we wanted to show that we are taking care of all of the things behind the scene that would make a simple functionality run in all platform and expose it in QML for you so that you can just use it easily. So I'm going to go back to my slide. I have a few more things in the advanced topic that I want to show you, and I also have a few demo that and that I think you would find interesting. So Bluetooth, I know from day one a lot of people are asking about Bluetooth connection. So just background information about Bluetooth. Bluetooth exists and it lets you connect to like third-party device that we can get input or send commands to. We support both Bluetooth and Bluetooth LE, and Qt Bluetooth doesn't provide abstraction, so we take that and we wanted to make it work in all platforms. So here's it's also part of the devices. So we have sample that show you. I mean, originally the reason we take on this Bluetooth and devices work is because we wanted to support GNSS receiver. We understand and accept that phone uh, location is not very accurate, and that's just how it is. And and in our line of work in GIS, we want some in some cases we want a very accurate data information, and then all of the rest of S3 products support connecting to all of the Genesis receiver. So we take on that work, and then we want to support that as well. With that, it opens up a lot of other opportunity. For example, supporting laser rangefinder. I think Survey 123 has shown example of connecting to Spike and also sensor and a lot of other things. Uh, these are the list of GPS receiver that we have tested and know work, but I know that there are a lot out there that I think could work as well. We just have to test it. So we support Bluetooth pairing through device. We also support USB connection and TCP connection to support external devices. And we also have created an NMEA source so that we can understand the data that's coming from the GNSS receiver. So now I have a quick demo using an RFID reader connecting via Bluetooth on my phone. Uh, so right, I'm going to open this sample. Just give me 1 second. So I have this app that I create. I hope that everyone can see me. And I have an RFID reader and an RFID tag that was provided to us by one of our partner to test. So now we first want to connect this device into our app, into the app that I create, and connect the apps, and then read the tag from this RFID tag. So if you look at the screen, I have this RFID code by the name of 1128. So I click on it. It has that, and it has a map that has connect. I pre-configured this map, each of these features to be associated with one of this RFID tag. In the real world, you would have this tag attached into a feature, into a guard layer, into fire hydrant that you have that you wanted to scan. Then you would scan it, and then as you can see that we read the ID of the RFID tag. This is the ID, and then that is the features that is associated with that ID, and then it's being read. And if I open another RFID tag that's hopefully registered, and so that's open a different ID, and then it zoomed in into. So this is to show that we can connect to a Bluetooth device, and then it reads the data from the RFID tag. It processes that ID, and then it do an interaction to a map. I hope this. We have sample. It's called GNSS receiver that is based on this. That shows you how to connect that, and I will share a sample that will connect to any Bluetooth device that we support. Please note that in order for this to work with iOS device, you need to provide the manufacturer ID into the AppStudio app when you build it. But it will work on Android, on Windows. So that is the demo that I have. I want to spend the rest of the time to discuss. So that is what we are working on in AppStudio. That's what we have today in AppStudio in our AppStudio framework. We want to we want to give you a glance of what we are currently working on and what is the futures of AppStudio. What we have coming up. What is the cool feature that we have? Uh, One example is speech recognition. So remember in the in the exercise that we did today, it's something that we call text to speech. That means we give you a string, and then the phone, the device will say that string. But now we want to support a reverse of that, meaning that you speak to a phone and the app can understand what you say with my broken English, and then describe that and then do some action into it. So we have a demo for that. Quick little demo. I'm going to share my phone. All right. So I have my iPhone share. Everyone can see my phone, right? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. So there is this sample that we create. It's called Talk to Me. I can click on the start speech and I say zoom in. And then you can't hear it, but it actually talk back to me. I say zooming in. But what it does is that it actually it recognizes what I say, and it recognizes what I say, and then it does something based on what I say. For example, help. It's give me all of the things. So let's say I could do close instruction, base map, base map, zoom out, zooming out, search to redlands. So as you can see that it zoomed to redlands. That's what we wanted to show you, that we are currently working on uh, something that we can listen to. I mean, we were able to listen to instruction via voice as accurately as possible. This is coming from a quick capture app that we have. This is one example of app driving what we want. So quick capture app needs to have a touch-free, hands-free data collection. So we're working on it and trying to support them. So let me share my screen. So that is one of the demo that I have. Another one that we're currently working on, and you've probably seen Chris' demo on the Dev Summit's plenary. We are working on a machine learning using TensorFlow. We're TensorFlow is a third-party company that works with machine learning, meaning that they give you a platform for you to teach and make a model learn to be able to identify something. So we are not and also then we are working on being able to read that model. We are working on supporting a type of model, a specific one called TensorFlow Lite, that is light enough for a mobile device that will do a solution to do image classification, object detection of some sort. I have a demo. The demo is called face detection. So this is a little GIF that I created to film our coworker to be able to detect face. So I'm going to try to open a Google image here. Let's say Friends Cast. All right. So now we have an image of people here. Then I'm going to try to run an app. So I see. Let me exit full screen of this. All right. So I hope this is not confusing, but so this one is my phone. This one is my web browser. So I want to run face detection app. So now, as you see, that we are able to recognize that those are faces. From the image, it does the classification. Those are the faces. Another example that Chris has shown in a plenary demo, it was able to recognize the type of leaves that when it takes a picture or it sees a specific leaf, it tells you what types of trees it is. That just depends on the model. We have nothing to do with that. We're just simply reading and working with the model. I know that we are trying on something a little bit more, but I think we didn't get it to work really nicely to recognize the celebrity faces. So I'm just gonna run it, but I don't think it works perfectly. Yeah, it doesn't. Let me see if I can recognize me. It recognized me as Saddam Hussein. So anyway, that's just a research project that we are working on. I wanted to show you what we have in AppFramework. So there are a lot of exciting things that are coming up in AppStudio apps that we are working on with AppStudio Framework. I think that's all I have. If you wanna, these are some of the reference that you can see, API guide, API reference, especially AppStudio Framework on how to use it. The same concept as runtime. We have a guide and we have a API reference, and also we have GeoNet group that you can ask question, and I'll try to answer that as soon as possible. That's all I have, Chris, and I think we can open the rest of the time for question.